Well, welcome back to Whole Bible Study with Taddy Noy. If you're just joining us or need a quick refresher, we're deep in the heart of the Exodus narrative. God has sent a series of devastating plagues upon Egypt to persuade Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. But Pharaoh's heart has remained stubborn. We've seen locusts, hail, frogs, darkness, and each time a window opens only to slam shut against the Pharaoh as the Pharaoh resists. The tension is thick, and everything has been building towards something climactic. Now God speaks to Moses one final time before the last and most severe judgment falls. Let's read Exodus chapter 11 together. Exodus chapter 11, and we're reading from the NIV version. Now the Lord had said to Moses, I will bring one more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. And when he does, he will drive you out completely. Tell the people that men and women alike are to ask their neighbors for articles of silver and gold. The Lord made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people. And Moses himself was highly regarded in Egypt by Pharaoh's officials and by the people. So Moses said that this is what the Lord says. About midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sits on the throne to the firstborn son of the female slave who is at her hand mill, and all the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be a loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there was even ever before or ever will be again. But among the Israelites, not a dog will bark at any person or animal. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. All these officials of yours will come to me, bowing down before me and saying, go, and you go, and all the people who follow you. After that, I will leave. Then Moses, hot with anger, left Pharaoh. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will refuse to listen to you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in Egypt. Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders before Pharaoh, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go out of his country. Now for the deep dive, Exodus 11. It's a final warning. Exodus 11 is a brief but thunderous chapter. It serves as a kind of calm before the storm, a divine pronouncement that delivers an ultimatum not just to Pharaoh, but to the very structure of Egyptian society. God declares that one final plague will break Pharaoh's will, the death of the firstborn. From an anthropological and historical perspective, this pronouncement is seismic. In ancient Egypt, the firstborn son held immense importance, as he was the heir, the continuation of the family line, the one who would inherit not only wealth, but also religious and political responsibilities. This was especially true for Pharaoh, who was considered a divine figure. His firstborn was next in line of the living gods. For a god of slaves to touch the untouchable, the firstborn of Pharaoh was an assault on the very heart of Egyptian identity and divine kingship. The inclusion of the firstborn of the slave girl at her hand mill speaks volumes. It's a cultural mirror in Egyptian society. Hierarchy was everything, from Pharaoh at the top to the female domestic slaves at the bottom. The hand mill was a lowly, exhausting tool associated with daily grind of producing flour, symbolizing both the labor and servitude of the underclass. God's judgment cuts through this hierarchy, reaching every level, leaving no Egyptian untouched, yet sparing the Israelites completely. That contrast emphasizes divine justice and divine choice. The borrowing of silver and gold in verse 2 has sparked much scholarly debate. The Hebrew verb sha'al, translated as ask, can also mean demand or claim. This wasn't theft, it was back pay. Israel had served Egypt under harsh conditions for generations, and now they were leaving with reparations. In the broader ancient Near Eastern context, it was common for departing subjects or soldiers to be given plunder or gifts. Culturally, this gesture underscored Egypt's defeat and Israel's new identity as a people of freedom and wealth, no longer defined by poverty. Verse 7, "Not a dog will bark," is more than poetic. In Egypt, dogs were both pests and guardians. Their silence represents total peace, a divine calm that starkly contrasts with the wailing in Egyptian homes. This image highlights the completeness of God's protection over Israel. He's not just sparing them, he's surrounding them with supernatural calm in a land unraveling with grief. Moses' departure from Pharaoh, hot with anger in verse 8, is deeply human and culturally poignant. In Egyptian court settings, anger towards Pharaoh would have been blasphemous. This wasn't just political rebellion, it was theological resistance. Moses, now transformed from hesitant messenger to bold prophet, no longer fears Pharaoh. His righteous indignation mirrors God's own frustration with Egypt's stubbornness. Anthropologically, this signals a shift in power. The mouthpiece of Yahweh is no longer subordinate. He's now the unyielding agent of divine justice. Now in verse 10 confirms that Pharaoh's heart remains hard. The Hebrew phrase used here is shazak, lev. Literally, his heart was strengthened. This doesn't mean God forced Pharaoh to be evil. In ancient Hebrew idiom, this phrase suggests that God allowed Pharaoh's stubbornness to fully mature. He was sealed in his resistance so that God's power would be displayed without ambiguity. Historically, the Egyptians believed in Ma'at, a concept of cosmic order and balance. Pharaoh was responsible for maintaining Ma'at, protecting his people from chaos. With every plague, Yahweh dismantles Pharaoh's ability to maintain that balance. Now, with this final plague prophesied, the complete collapse of Ma'at looms. Now for some closing reflections. This chapter humbles me. It's short, but it echoes with eternity. It shows how deeply God sees injustice, not just at a personal level, but at a social level, societal level. He sees the systems, the powers, the cultural beliefs that hold people in bondage, and he moves with justice and compassion to dismantle them. And in the middle of that, he honors the cries of the oppressed. If you've ever felt like your voice didn't matter, like you were forgotten in a sea of power and noise, this chapter reminds us that God hears, he sees, and he acts. I'm so glad you're walking this journey with me. If something here stirred your heart, or if you caught a detail I didn't mention, drop a comment. I'd love to hear your insights. We're not just studying this, we're living it together. May God bless you and keep you until we meet again in the next chapter.